boop, beep boop, beep boop. A Just the Network production. Beep boop boop. That sounds good. Take it away, me. Hello, Gistners, and welcome to Just the Gist. I'm your host, Rosie Waterland, and in this podcast, I tell entertaining stories about anything and everything, but with just the gist of what you need to know to help you sound impressive at a dinner party. Gisting in every week is the JTG production team and you guys, the Gistners. So, let's get gisting. I really want to. I don't like the way I say "let's get gisting." I want to change that. Can we change that?
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. It's like let's get gisting. I don't know. Like, it's just,
what do you want to change it to?
Every time, let's get gisting. Let's fucking go. I don't know. Every time I hear it, I'm like, oh, I hate that. Anyway, hi everyone.
Hey everyone.
Welcome to Just the Gist. I'm your host, Rosie Waterland, and gisting in this week are producer extraordinaire team, James Joseph and Hayley Stavely. Hello.
Hello.
Wow.
Hello. Hi. Welcome. Hello.
Hello.
Hello,
Welcome.
hi, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Listening to a Just the Gist main episode. We do minis on Wednesdays. These drop on Thursdays. And we have a whole lot of other bonus stuff that drops on other days if you'd like to join. That was the most professional opener I've ever done.
I know. I was like, I'm not going to interrupt.
I know.
She's on a roll.
I was on a roll. I remembered everything. I told people what the show is.
Wow.
I told people my name and your names. I mentioned episode days.
Yep.
Bing, bang, boom.
Someone took the ADHD medication this morning.
Yes, I did, my friend. Yes, I did. Okay, guys. This one today is it's like
Oh, yeah. We're really excited.
yeah.
Oh, it's the worst.
It's a biggie. I've been researching this one for a while, but I keep it on the back burner. I kept putting it on the back burner because just more and more horrible stuff kept coming out today. And then for a while I thought I'll do a Just the Gist just of Fergie, just of Sarah Ferguson. And then I was like, or I'll do one just of Andrew, or I'll do one of both of them, or I'll do one. And but then more and more stuff has come out in the press the last few weeks about how crappy they both are. So I'm just going to do a Just the Gist of them both. I'm going to give you just the gist of no longer Prince.
Regular guy,
Andrew and Fergie. This is just the gist of Andrew and Fergie.
This is exciting for me because ages ago when you said Fergie was on the list, I
Yeah.
said like Royal Ranger Fergie or Fergalicious Fergie, and you never responded.
Yeah, because I thought
I've
you
always
were
wondered.
joking.
I was not joking.
I was like, what? I
wasn't
thought she was
joking.
joking. And I said to James, she's joking, right? Like, why would I do a just the gist on...
Delicious.
Well, I thought she might have some really interesting
the
background that
story,
I didn't know about. So I was
Well,
like,
I guess,
okay.
yeah. I mean, I would do, actually, and I'm going to write this down, a Just the Gist mini on her terrible Star Spangled Banner that she performed at a basketball game that essentially ended her career. Oh,
Say
This is content.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So just to be clear, the Fergie you're referring to is the non-Fergalicious variety of Fergie.
Well, she used to be differentiated as, Fergie, Sarah Ferguson, the Duchess of York, but she's not a Duchess anymore. So, no, Fergie, the royal, one-time royal, now disgraced Fergie. I'm going to give you just the gist of Andrew and Fergie, and I want to point out up top, not really focused hugely on the Epstein thing in detail. So, like we do talk a little bit about how it pertains to Andrew, but with all the stuff going on in the news with Andrew and what happened with Epstein, and then how Fergie stuff's coming out that she was tied into it, and they've like all these horrible emails are coming up where they're just trying to scam money off everyone all the time. Like they're just in the news a lot recently, and I was like, how did they get to this place? Like what is their, and like, why do they live together even though they're divorced? What's their deal? Yeah. Like, what's their deal? And even when I said to James, like, oh yeah, I think I'm going to do it just the gist on maybe just Fergie. And he was like, I love Fergie. Isn't she the cool one? And I was like, no, she's not.
I always thought that Fergie was kind of Diana-esque. I thought that she like came from like a blue collar kind of like working background.
Diana didn't either.
She
but
was
then-
like, I know Diana didn't either, but like they had that level of like an outsider coming
people's
into the
princess.
institution. A bit like that, you know, she was the princess of pork. She was like, you know, like fat shamed and, you know, like she just was like one of the people that I always thought that.
And then
Do you remember that?
hustled to make money after because, you
Yeah.
know,
she's out on-
I
Do you remember
always
that
thought
Big
that.
Girls Blouse sketch in the newspaper or the magazine office? And they've got the picture of Diana and they're
Yeah.
like stretching her legs out and like glossing her skin up and everything. And they're like, doesn't she look gorgeous? And then with Fergie, they're like fatten her up. They
Yeah.
put like heaps of freckles on her and they're like, yeah, she's
Yeah.
hideous.
I mean, I think that is a lot of people's impression of her, particularly if you're our age and you do remember when we were kids, like Diana was the beautiful, pretty princess and Fergie was like the funny but like
Frumpster.
No.
frumpy
Normal.
one. Yeah, like the normal one. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like and you know, you've heard about her missteps over the years, but it's kind of been like, well, she needed to make money. Like she, you know, what do you expect from her? And then all this stuff with Andrew came out and it was like, well, she supports him because he's the father of her daughters, but like, well, she didn't have anything to do with it. It's like, and so then all this stuff has come out in the last, you know, few months and particularly like the last few weeks on both of them. And so I wanted just the gist of them as a couple and their marriage and their deal and how two people get to be so shit.
Yeah. Great.
So I'm giving you just the gist on Andrew and Fergie.
This is great.
Yeah.
'Cause I know
I'm
very little
excited.
about like them as a
Yeah.
couple and just outside of the Epstein stuff as well. So I'm
Yes.
keen to get into the juicy bits.
And part of what got me super obsessed with this, particularly the last month, is that I read the book. It's called Entitled The Rise and Fall of the House of York, and it's all about Andrew and Fergie, and it's by a journalist called Andrew Lowney, and he goes into a lot of detail just about their lives before they met each other, when they were married, their lives since then. And, you know, his book came out and then a few weeks later, a lot of the news broke about, you know, emails proving that Andrew had been in touch with Epstein after he said he wasn't. And Andrew Lowney has kind of alluded to the fact that, like, he did know a lot of that more awful stuff, but, like, legally couldn't put it. So he's just glad that it's all come out now because he's like, there's a lot of stuff I found out researching this book that I couldn't legally put in the book, but it's all coming out now.
So frustrating.
But it's a fascinating book. So a lot of the information I got for this episode is from that book. And then I also just watched every single cheesy Andrew and Fergie, the love story, like documentary on YouTube and stuff. Like I've really hyperfixated on this for quite a while now, James will tell you. So here we go. Just the gist of Andrew and Fergie. So, Andrew Albert Christian Edward Mountbatten Windsor. He is born in 1960, so he's 65 this year. And he is extremely spoiled from the moment he is born.
Literally a prince.
Extremely spoiled. Literally a prince, but spoiled more than usual in his specific case, and it's for a few reasons. So the first reason is that his older brother Charles and older sister Anne were born before Elizabeth became queen. So she was still just a princess, had just married Prince Philip, he was just Philip then, and had these two kids. And
oh gosh, I didn't know that.
and so Andrew is actually the first baby born to a reigning monarch in Britain in over 100 years.
Wow.
So he's also the first baby born to a reigning monarch in a time when there's like TV and tabloid press and people can get excited about like a little royal baby born in Buckingham Palace to the Queen. So the public was just so excited about this little baby. He was considered very special from the moment he was born. Also, Charles had been born 12 years earlier and Anne had been born 10 years earlier. So the public mostly assumed that Elizabeth wasn't going to have any more children.
Yeah.
So it was like just this lovely surprise and everyone is so chuffed. Like he's just a very special, exciting little boy.
Broken
He's
condom
born.
baby
Yes.
for sure. So how old was Liz when he was born then?
She was 34 when he was born, and she had been, like in her early 20s when Charles and Anne were born.
Wow.
And so the age of his siblings brings us to the second reason he's so spoiled. I mean, I guess the age of Elizabeth too, is that she had been newly married and in her 20s when she had Charles and Anne, and then her father died very unexpectedly, and she was thrust into being queen way earlier than anyone had anticipated, especially her. Like, she thought she was going to live 20 years with Philip and her kids as just a princess until she had to step into that role. So not only was she new to being a mother at the time, like, and she had no idea in that department, she also just had to entirely focus on the queen stuff suddenly. And that meant Charles and Anne essentially were raised by nannies, which was not unusual for royal or aristocratic children at the time, but it was even more ramped up because she literally became queen when they were little kids. Most people remember the famous footage of her coming back from a 6-month tour where she'd gone around Australia and New Zealand and a bunch of places around here actually. She'd been away for 6 months. Charles was 5 years old. Anne was about 3 years old. And there's this very famous footage of her getting off the ship, and there's all these English dignitaries lined up to welcome her home. So she gets off the ship, and Charles, as a 5-year-old, is in the line with all the other dignitaries. And she walks along the line shaking all their hands. He has to wait there. And then she gets to him and she just shakes his hand and moves along to the next person. He hasn't seen it. He's 5 years old. He hasn't seen his mum for 6 months and he doesn't even get a hug.
I thought that he was on the boat with her.
No. He hasn't seen her for and she hasn't seen him for 6 months.
Oh my God, that's weird.
She hadn't seen him for 6 years. I was
weird.
you think that's cute?
No. No, I thought it was a little bit.
They had left the kids at home. She had been gone for 6 months.
And he's only been alive for 5 years.
And he has to line up with all the other dignitaries and politicians, and all he gets is a handshake.
Oh my God, that's so weird.
It's messed up.
Yeah. So that's quite famous footage, and it's often referred to when people are talking about what their, or at least Charles's childhood would have been like. But by now, the Queen is in her 30s when Andrew was born, and she's been doing it for a while, so she's way more comfortable both as a queen and a mother, but also with asserting herself and knowing who and what she has to listen to. So with the first 2 kids, particularly Charles, she was doing what she was told because he was the future monarch, and it's there's a specific way to raise the future monarch. So if she goes away for 6 months and they tell her, no, you can't take the children, she's like, oh, okay, that's protocol. And then when she gets back, they're like, you shake his hand in the line with all the other politicians and not even first because he's not the most important one. She's like, oh, okay. So by the time 10 years later, when Andrew is born, she's a lot more confident.
She's like, oh, wait, I'm the fucking queen.
I can hug my child if I
Maybe I
would
can
like
make
to.
some rules.
Yeah. So, it's also been speculated it was common for aristocratic and royal women at the time because of the way the family fortune, or in the royal case titles, are handed down to boys, that women in those circles preferred boys. They were more excited to get pregnant with and have boys. So even though she had Anne after Charles, Andrew is the first boy that she can feel excited about and dote on because Charles's whole life is centered around preparing him for when she dies.
Yeah, there's rules for raising him.
Yeah, and that'd bring up weird feelings. And so Andrew is a boy, so not boring like Anne. It's and she can dote on him. And also it's her first baby in 10 years. And the first 2 she didn't get to spoil them, and this time she does. And apparently she's obsessed. From the moment Andrew was born, he's her favourite and was her favourite until the day she died.
I'm my mum's favourite too. So
are you?
Yeah, Andrew and I have that in common. I hope that's all we have in common.
I'm hoping that's where it ends. I think also he's her second chance because she did have regrets about how stiff and cold things had been with particularly Charles. He's also, and because of, I didn't realize this actually, but because the laws that changed only in the last few years, to allow women into the line of succession, back then Andrew was the spare, because back then a woman could only be included in the line of succession if there was literally no other male option.
If you're desperate.
Yeah. And so Charles was heir to the throne, and when Andrew's born, he becomes next in line because Anne's not included. So you know, from the moment of his birth, he's considered extremely important, but he isn't first in line to the throne. He's not the heir apparent. So he gets all the reverence without the tough program like the future monarch has to go through. So like, you know, Charles is raised in a very particular way where it's drilled into him from the start that it's like your duty to serve the people. You have to devote yourself to and your life to the Commonwealth and to the people of the Commonwealth.
Pressure.
He gets all that education and like stuff from this. It's like you are very important, but that's because you have this duty ahead of you. Andrew gets, you are very important.
Full stop.
Have fun with that.
Yeah.
He doesn't, he doesn't have to do all that other stuff. And also another reason I think he's very spoiled is that Prince Edward, who is the Queen's fourth and final child, isn't born until Andrew is 5 years old. So he essentially gets 5 years of just being the most special little boy. Everyone loves him. He's indulged by the Queen. He's indulged by the public. He's indulged by everyone at the palace. Like first baby born there at Buckingham Palace. Like they're just so excited to have this new little baby boy around. And like for example, think about how she shook Charles's hand after not seeing him for 6 months as a 5-year-old. On Andrew's 6th birthday, because she was so worried about the fact Edward had been born and she didn't want Andrew to feel like overlooked or shafted or jealous, on Andrew's 6th birthday, he gets a massive party with a petting zoo and he gets a custom-made mini Aston Martin that costs £4,000 to drive around the royal estate from the Queen. So, like, he's
like
getting treated different.
He's like Richie Rich. Yeah.
He's getting treated different. And apparently he uses that Aston Martin to, like, chase down and ram into stuff. So he's delightful.
Lovely little child.
He's apparently very rude and dismissive of staff from pretty much when anyone can remember.
You would be.
Yeah. So he very much has a sense of class and protocol, and he likes that he's at the top of that class pyramid. There are only 2 people in the world who are more important than him, his mum and his older brother, and they have to do boring jobs. So he just thinks he is literally the third most important person in the world. It also doesn't help that as he grows up, he's like comparatively to Charles, good looking.
I knew where you were going as soon as you hesitated.
Comparatively to Charles, he's like handsome. Particularly as he becomes like a teenager, he eventually goes to Gordonston, which is like this Scottish boarding school that his dad and Charles had gone to. When he's 14, he goes there, and it's pretty intense. Like it's in the Scottish wilderness. And
I thought they all had to go to Eton.
No, they didn't back. They went to Gordonston.
Really?
Back. I think part of the reason the boys went to Eton is because Charles had such an awful time at Gordonston. He's like, I will never send my children to that place. But so Gordonston's like, this Scottish boarding school in the wilderness. It's all it's the reason Prince Philip, because Prince Philip loved it. It's the reason he started the Duke of Edinburgh awards, which are all about like wilderness survival, because he learned all of that at that school when he was a kid, and he thought it was important for kids to do that kind of thing. Apparently at Gordonston, Andrew is called the sniggerer because he constantly sniggers and smirks at people, like students and staff alike.
That tells you all you need to know about him as a person, doesn't it?
Yeah. Other students and staff from that time describe him as extremely out of touch. Like he didn't know how to socialize with people who weren't treating him like the most important person in the room. He reminds people of his title all the time. And he apparently assumes he's just extremely interesting and hilarious. And I think because he spent the first 14 years of his life just having everyone around him like laugh uproariously at his jokes and like act enraptured in his stories. But now he's at like this boarding school where he's meant to be treated the same as others. I mean, it's a famous boarding school, and there are wealthy kids there from like international families who are like way wealthier than his family. So he's like not technically meant to the most special and important person there, but he doesn't seem to understand that he isn't the most special and important and interesting and hilarious like person at Gordonston. Apparently when someone else in a group like starts talking, he just goes quiet and stares at them in rage until they stop, and then he can like be the center of attention again. And people said he had just a weird thing where he was superficially great at socializing. Like a lot of girls liked him, a lot of people sucked up to him, but he like couldn't make any actual connection because it just didn't occur to him to be interested in other people. Like he just wasn't interested in other people. He also gets the nickname Randy Andy at boarding school because he hooks up with a lot of girls, but also because, and this is apparently something that lasts throughout his life, he's very juvenile and he has a really juvenile sense of humor. Apparently it's all farts, which I'm like, yeah.
Okay.
But also just from very early on, just really dirty, misogynistic sex stuff.
Yeah.
That's his whole, that's the humor
shtick,
that he likes. Yeah, that's his shtick. You know, apparently he takes other students' stuff. Like if he wants it, he just takes it. And if they find it in his room, he's just like, you know, he expects to be picked up after, you know, he does things like something will drop on the floor and he'll just look at someone like expect them to pick it up. He fails a lot of classes, gets passed even though he probably doesn't deserve it, is not super smart academically, is pretty good. He's like good at, you know, some sports and stuff, but yeah, not academically, you know, anything to write home about. And by all accounts, just a very, very childish person. When he finishes high school, he's never going to get into uni and he has no interest in going anyway. So it's decided he'll join the Royal Navy. And although it is insisted that like, you know, the army or the navy or whatever is like the great equalizer, it doesn't matter if you're royal, people later do say, no, he was treated differently. Yeah. He wants to fly helicopters, so he's like shuffled into that program even though it's incredibly competitive to get into that program. There were a lot of like essays and stuff he had to do in the application process that he just didn't, like people would talk to him the night before and he just expected it to be done, which it was for him. He signs on for a 12-year term in the Navy. So they teach him to fly. He flies helicopters. He ends up a rescue pilot. The Falklands War happens and he, you know, carries out some rescue operation apparently. Like he's flying the helicopter. And so it's reported on in the press. It's just in this major way that like Andrew's a war hero. Like he flew this helicopter and that's when James is one day going to give himself an aneurysm by refusing to ever let a sneeze out of his head.
Especially during recording.
Yeah, because that wasn't like
that was much more distracting.
Yeah, that was much more
like a human.
So when he comes back from the Falklands War, he gets off the ship and it's like this huge celebration. The war is over. The Queen is there to greet the ship. There's a lot of media. There's a lot of people. It's been reported in the media, this like heroic thing that he did. As he's coming off the ship, a woman hands him a rose and he puts it between his teeth and like walks down the ramp to
like he's on Man Oh Man.
Yeah, kind of. And like his mum gives him a cheeky look and he's like, yeah, man.
Oh, man.
And so at that, this is probably the peak of Andrew's like life in terms of popularity.
Yeah.
He's like, I think at this point in his early 20s, everyone's obsessed. They start saying HRH stands for His Royal Handsome. And they start reporting that he's called Randy Andy, but like that was his nickname at school, but everyone loves it. They're like, cheeky Andy. And like people just go on and on about how hot he is and how he's this war hero. And
Wait, can we see a photo of young Andrew?
I mean, I'll show you the photo with the rose. Hold on.
Oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that.
Here's him having a moment with his mum. She's greeting all the soldiers and, yeah, that's him there. See, that's why I said handsome comparative to Charles. Because I
handsome.
don't find him. He's like,
He's handsome.
He's good look. Like, just wait.
blank.
And here's just a regular one of
handsome.
him. Wait, hold on.
Excuse me. I'm allowed to have my own taste in men. No, he's handsome.
Like,
You're wrong.
that's him there on that same day.
Oh, okay.
You know.
He's less handsome there.
He looks the same
Yeah.
as he does
Yeah.
now.
He
just
does.
like
He's
younger.
He's just, I think Charles had this big nose and these
he looks the same as he does now, but younger.
Yeah, I know. Stop it. So strange. Someone should look into that. I don't think that's meant to happen.
But I think Charles, had that big nose and those pokey out ears.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
he was like a caricature of it.
Yeah. So, he is just like, everyone loves him at this point. The world is treating him like as special as he always thought.
Knew that he was.
And thought that he was. The way he treated staff, though, since he was a kid is like even worse now. So there are examples like he will call a maid from 3 floors down who has to like climb all those stairs to come to his room just to open the curtains right in front of him. He'll then, and apparently would do it on purpose, he'd wait enough time knowing that she'd be all the way back down the bottom, and he'd call again, get her to come all the way back up and be like, I've dropped my fork on the floor. Fuck off. And like she'd have to, so he does stuff like that.
He's Lavinia from
he's
Little
like
Princess.
a caricature. Yeah. He has a weird collection of toys and teddies, like, because he is apparently very juvenile and he collects all these toys from when he was a kid. I don't think there's anything particularly wrong with that, just saying. But he does have all these teddies that his mum has given him over the years that he have to be arranged on his bed every day in a particular way.
That's weird.
He would often, if the pile was wrong because there was a certain order to them, he would just like demolish the pile off the bed and demand it be like redone properly. Like just not a pleasant person by all accounts.
I'm disappointed in Liz.
He does something like, well, apparently she just could not be told that he wasn't the best.
The most special boy.
Yeah, the most special boy. When he met people, he would do things like if someone came into a room and didn't like curtsy or bow the correct way, he would demand they leave and come back in and do it correctly. Like just when he's just socializing with normal people. Like I've literally got here in capital letters a caricature of a spoiled prince. Like that is what he is. So his early 20s, his life is kind of like just Navy stuff and partying really after he became quite famous in the media for being his royal hotness. He's dating lots of actresses and like just getting around town.
Yeah.
He dates this woman called Koo Stark, an American actress, as apparently like his one true love, or at least the one before Fergie.
His Camilla.
It was very close to like they were very possibly going to get married. He was like pretty obsessed with her, but she had been in like she'd done nude scenes and sex scenes in movies and stuff. And
Can't
so
be
it was
having
just
that.
like, can't be having that. And also I say like, he was her one true love. He loved her, whatever. And apparently he was sad that they never got married, but he was also just hooking up with other women all the time at the time. And there's one woman who said she was on a yacht with him and there was a teddy on the bed and she just asked him about it. And he said, oh, that was a present from my girlfriend Koo. And he goes, do you want to see her? And then just pulled out all these like naked, clearly private photos of her and just was showing them to everyone on the yacht. Like, look at my hot ass girlfriend. Like, so that's the way he loves.
But if
the
he-
one woman he cares about more than anything.
If he was in love with her, then it's probably because she was the most sycophantic person. So probably.
Possibly. Like she did quote, she's not talked much about their
You wouldn't, would
romance,
you?
but she did say that like we met and he liked me, invited me over, and just from the second I was with him, my life was about him. That was it. You just get pulled in and it's all about him. And he's so like beloved after that rescue mission at this point. Like he is in this just moment of handsome war hero, 24, like he is good looking, he's good for the royal family. So they trust him, or at least the Queen does, to go on his first official solo trip to represent the royal family. And it's a tour of California, which he chooses. I think he just wants to party
That's
in
not
LA.
a good spot.
Now, palace staff know him and they know this is a mistake.
Yeah.
They're like, the public doesn't know him. He was a kid, then he was in the Navy, then he's like come out in the public a lot the last year, but there's been no major interviews with him. There's been like, they don't know him. We know him. This is a disaster.
Yeah, and why did the royal family need to do any kind of tour to California? Like you'd think somewhere
not
in
in
the
the
Commonwealth
Commonwealth,
would make
yeah.
sense, but
I
like
don't, I think the queen spoiled her special little
Yeah.
boy.
She was like,
and that's
Where do you want to go on a holiday?
and, you know, apparently the queen just could not be convinced that he couldn't do this trip. Like, she thought he's going to go, he's going to be brilliant. Andrew is special, he's smart, he's good. Like, she could not be convinced that he shouldn't do this trip. But palace staffers were like,
Your son's a fuckwit.
this is not going to be good. And the trip is a disaster because the media had not been around him for an extended period of time ever, and it does not take long for them to realize he's an asshole. So, you know, he is an asshole on the whole trip. Like, he does things like there's this British department, like there's a department store that has this British sort of fashion section, and they bring him there and they've all like proudly set it all up to show him, like, I don't know what shirts are English or whatever. And he walks in and like he just starts laughing, points at this stand and he goes, "Oh, I haven't worn those since I was 9 years old," and then just walks out. And that's the end of that visit to that department store that they'd probably prepared for 6 months for him coming. He's like late to everything, rude to everyone he meets. He's like partying a lot. He's saying a lot of very just buffoonish, arrogant stuff on camera. And then to make it worse, and this is what clinched the trip as a disaster and him as an asshole, at a construction site, he picks up, like, all the press are there and he's doing like a visit to this construction site. He picks up a paint spray gun, turns around, sprays all the press with paint while laughing, and then puts the gun down, wipes his hands, demands someone bring him some newspaper to wipe his hands, wipes his hands, and then goes, "I enjoyed that," and walked off.
Oh my God. That's something from like a skit.
The press. It's like, what if the press see? They saw, they were the ones he did it
the
to.
victims.
And so that is reported on widely, and it is the American press are just like, fuck this guy.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is an arrogant buffoon. He's rude. He's awful. He's entitled.
Yeah.
It was so bad.
And they would have just been like, fuck Britain entirely.
Yeah, the Queen could not like be convinced that he wasn't doing well until this story broke.
Oh,
and so then it was decided that he would not really be allowed on any solo trips again in the near future, but if he ever did go on any, it would be with a dedicated PR team, you know, around him at all times.
To puppet
because
Oh my God.
he needs some kind of buffer so people don't realize how awful he is. So after that trip, public sentiment turns. Like, he had a brief window, but then it was like, oh wait, but you can't hide that you're a shitty person.
Yeah.
Also, I think William and Harry had been born, so he's no longer like next in line. Like, he was the spare, but now there's two, you know, the royal
Adorable little
babies.
kids.
Yes.
There's like, it's his brief moment shining in the sun was very brief. So it becomes pretty important at this point, probably for him to settle down and get married, because he's got this reputation as Randy Andy and a party boy and arrogant, and people aren't liking him, and they'll solve that by him like having a big wedding, and the public loves a royal wedding. And so here is where we get the entry of Sarah Ferguson. So Fergie, she's about a year older than Andrew. And she'd known him actually since they were kids, because she grew up in one of those families, a lot like Diana, that's not royal but is extremely aristocratic.
Yeah.
Like, she's a descendant of King Charles I, a bunch of dukes and barons. She's also distantly related to Andrew, although I feel like they're all related to each other. So it's not that much of a shock. Through apparently
Very shallow gene pool.
they're related through King James VI. Her father had been like a pretty important guy in the army and ended up a major. And when he retired from the army, he played polo for England on a team with Prince Charles in his spare time. And then he became the polo manager for Prince Philip, and then later the polo manager for Prince Charles. So he's like a hooty-tooty polo man. Her mother was like an important society lady. They apparently had like old money, but they are one of those aristocratic families that like they're around a lot of wealth and nobility, but they're not the wealthiest. Like, they don't have it.
Yeah.
They have probably what any of us would consider an obscene amount of money, but comparatively to a lot of people.
They're small fish in a big pond.
Exactly.
And marrying into the royal family would have been a big get for the
Well,
family.
she's essentially raised the same way Diana was, and most women, like aristocratic women at that time were, which is like you are being raised to marry someone important, an important man, an important rich man. And generally, like the way those matches went was like if you were a woman who had a lot of money and there was like a noble guy who had a better title than your family but not so much money, then you guys would get married, or, you know, it's like it's
just
all,
like
an
Jane
arrangement.
Austen.
it's all very
times.
I know, and it was the 80s, but it was still like that. It's gross. Fergie's parents divorced when she was about 14. Her mother was really unhappy in the marriage and she runs off to Ecuador with a hot polo player.
Ooh.
Fergie and her sister are left with their dad. Her mum says because, you know, I can't take them to Ecuador. Like their life is
Yeah, I mean, what else am I supposed
school
to
and stuff.
do? Like stay here and parent my kids?
Yeah. She kind of, like she intimated later, like, well, I was doing the selfless thing by letting them stay there because they had lives and school. And I mean, but it's also complicated, I think, as with Diana, their lives are very similar actually growing up. Like women were often not, if they're the ones who left a marriage, given custody. Like Diana's mother was refused custody. Her dad got it. And so like that might have had something to do with it. But I think also her mum was just like, I'm unhappy and
I've got a sex man now.
kids or not, I'm leaving. And it was like, not. And she was like, okay. So Fergie does say that was when she started overeating a lot and binging a lot as a comfort thing because she had a lot of abandonment issues with her mother. And she, you know, said after that point she had a lifelong thing of like really trying to please people and like prove herself lovable to people in whatever way possible.
Because I mean, your mum leaving you, like the one person in the world who is meant to love you the most,
Don't know how that feels.
Not interested.
Yeah.
you must grow up to be a pretty fucked up person.
Yeah, totally. Totally. So Fergie also goes to boarding school, a fancy one, doesn't shine academically really, but she loves sport and horses. She's excellent at riding and skiing, you know, those
the rich people hobby.
Yeah, I was going to say those poor hobbies that kids from like bad neighborhoods have. After school, she does like a secretary course that she barely passes. Apparently her typing speed at the end was like 22 words a minute or something, like just really bad. Like, and she holidays a lot, like, because, you know, she's been taught to network and socialize in a way like, you go stay with that rich family, you go stay with that rich family. Like you kind of just, it's the circles she goes in, and she expects to have a life in which she will be taken care of, and she's just waiting till she marries, you know, the dude who will do that. She does date a couple of guys, one of whom she's hoping will marry her around this time. She has said later that she was a very desperate partner at this time, like just very clingy, very desperate to be loved, very desperate not to have a man like leave her. She felt very very insecure about her weight. I think she felt very unlovable and you know, had a whole lot of self-esteem stuff that went along with that. Apparently the men she dated didn't treat her very well, but she didn't care because she was just like, as long as
least they're with
one
me.
will have me. She's considered like very fun and bubbly, like great to be around, life of the party kind of person, but also like very entitled about the kind of life she should have and the kinds of people she thinks she should be around. Yeah, exactly. She eventually like gets some job at an art gallery, just kind of, like I said, waiting for her husband, I guess. She's friends with Diana, who is married to Charles at this point, and Diana loves her. And so when public sentiment starts to turn against Andrew and he really needs to get married, Diana is like, ding, ding, ding. Because Diana,
she was the matchmaker.
yes, Diana had wanted Fergie to be one of her ladies in waiting, but for whatever reason it didn't
they
happen.
still have
What
that?
is?
They still have them now.
Do they?
Yeah.
Can I ask what a lady in waiting is?
It's like a lady.
Slave.
You have a few ladies, who essentially they're like your paid friends. And back back in the day, they like dressed you and bathed you and did, but now it's more just
Your
like
entourage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
kind of. And some of them have paid jobs, like, but yeah, it's
Like to be on their podcast or whatever.
yeah, exactly, totally. So Diana had wanted her in the palace, didn't get her, so then she was like, Andrew needs to get married. I could just make you my sister-in-law.
Yeah.
And so there's this dinner party and Diana has them seated next to each other and they know each other a little, like they've been in the same circle since they were kids. So it's like, oh, Andrew, oh, Fergie, but they'd not really been around each other since they'd been in their adulthood. And they're both like very juvenile and silly people. Like they genuinely, apparently, really get along that night at the dinner. Like they just like to party. They're not serious people.
Yeah.
They kind of just want to have fun and be indulgent and they're interested in the superficial things in life. And that night something clicks and they pretty much start dating from that night.
Diana must have been like,
Yes. And they announced their engagement less than a year later in 1986. So she's 27 and he's 26. And at first, like his family, the royal family, love her. The public love her because she's considered like a lot more fun than Diana, who everyone thought was just kind of moody at that point and like a lot of work. And then, you know, they love at first with Fergie that like she doesn't care so much about like her clothes like Diana does. And it's like, actually she does. She just has terrible style. But they like that like, you know, with her and Diana next to each other, it's like Diana's so prim and proper and like ice cool model and Fergie's just like blah, and like having fun and
She's
always looked a bit
relatable.
disheveled.
Yeah, and maybe that's where I get the she's like a normal
Yeah.
person kind of vibe that I got.
Yeah.
she's
So-
giving Muriel. You
Yes.
didn't even buy a new dress.
She is
Yes,
giving
I
Muriel.
did.
Yes. And exactly. And she's
Yeah.
like cheeky with the press, which they
Yeah.
love. But staff say behind the scenes, she's actually very quickly awful and difficult to deal with. Like she'd always had a sense of entitlement just by virtue of her upbringing. But from the moment they're dating, Fergie spends like all her whole experience of the royal family and of being a royal is with Andrew and filtered through Andrew. And so they're
course.
dating for about 6 months. Then from the time they're engaged, she gets moved into his apartments at Buckingham Palace when they get engaged. And so she is basically taught what royal life is and how to be a royal from the worst, most spoiled royal of all the royals. Like that. And so I don't want to say that like she was the best and then he ruined her because she has been described as like pretty entitled already, but it was like, I don't know, just fuel got added to maybe a fire that would have burnt out. It just
Like the slightly dodgy person made friends with the wrong people.
Exactly.
It's a shame that Diana didn't, because she was all in the whole how to play the game stuff.
I
thought
think
she would take her under her wing and go.
I think, it's complicated and this is just the gist, but the vibe is that Diana was immediately jealous because the press fawned over Fergie. At one point, Charles even said to her, Fergie had spent the weekend and, she knows how to ride and she loves all the shooting and all the stuff Diana hates, Fergie loves. And Diana sort of thought Fergie would come there and be her friend, but Fergie comes into the family and is like,
One of them.
like she's one of the establishment. She's better at it than Diana is. And then it doesn't help that Charles says to her at one point, why can't you be more like Fergie? Like she's just fun and lighthearted and you're so moody and difficult. And then the press immediately loves her. She's like a breath of fresh air and Diana's so stuffy. And it's like there's resentment there pretty
She's like, here's your rope, bitch.
Yeah. So, apparently her and Andrew live like a pretty indulgent life together. It's just a lot of partying, a lot of entertaining people. She is very demanding of staff the same way she is. But again, it's like, can you blame her if he's the one who was teaching her this is how you interact with royal staff? So she also assumes that like she won't have to work anymore. Like she's very shocked to find that like work will have to be included in, like she has to keep going to her like PR job while she's engaged. Her father says later that he is certain that the idea of being a royal was something she loved more than she loved Andrew. Like she this
definitely.
is a life she thought she deserved, and she finally had this status and importance. Like this was the ultimate way to prove to people she was lovable, which is something that she had, had grappled with for a while. And it was like, well, shove this in my mum's face and shove this in the face of the men who treated me badly. Like I'm an important
literal princess.
Yeah.
Is she a princess or is she just
well,
how does that work?
Get married. She is technically a princess, so
Okay,
she's
yeah.
Her Royal Highness. But on the day of their wedding, Andrew is given the dukedom of York, and a duke apparently is fancier than a prince and a princess. So they
That's
then
weird, 'cause
even though they are a prince
more.
and a princess, they go by the Duke and Duchess of York because dukedom is apparently fancier.
Ooh.
That's so because
Yeah.
there's lots more dukes and duchesses than.
Yeah, I don't. Apparently, that's the one you want to be.
Okay, I'll update my vision board.
Yeah. I mean, maybe in terms of like, if you're not like the next in line of succession prince like Charles was,
like a bee prince.
outside of that prince, it's better to be a duke. I don't know. So they become the Duke and Duchess of York on the day of their wedding. But after the wedding, things start to fall apart in their relationship pretty quickly. It's never been denied that they did very much love each other, and by all accounts still do. But it became a different kind of relationship very quickly, like not really a romantic one for them.
Transactional one.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like they're more like best friends. They do seem like they are a solid team. They are each other's partners, but I don't think in a romantic way from pretty early on.
Yeah.
Part of it is because at the start of their marriage, Andrew's naval career means that for the first 5 years of their marriage, they only see each other about 45 days a year. So she thinks she's going to have, I think she imagined a very particular kind of royal life. And then she's just kind of left alone in her shitty apartment at the palace, which everyone says like all these royal accommodations are way shittier than you think. Like they were built ages ago. They're cold, they're leaky, they're, she also has to keep working at her PR job after she's married, which she's shocked by because, and this also comes as a shock to her, they don't really have any money. Like Andrew gets a salary from the Navy, which is about £20,000, and he gets an annual payment from his mum, the Queen, of about £250,000. But when like you're working, it's tricky for working royals, and I do have a sense of sympathy for them in this way because they say that you're not allowed to go and make money in other ways, right? But also you don't get much money. And that sounds like a lot, like £250,000, like that's a lot. But you have to use that to pay for your household and your staff.
Yeah.
And like,
Oh,
so,
really?
yeah, out of that allowance, you have to pay for all your own
It's like
stuff.
working at Abercrombie and you have to wear all of their clothes. So
Yeah.
then you have no money at the end of the day.
I had to wear cotton on when I worked at Cotton On.
Yeah.
But it was
And
all $7.
pricey.
That's fine.
And
So
she's
expensive.
thinking she marries in and then she's going to be lying on like a solid gold chaise being
Yes.
fed grapes and
I
stuff.
think
And
she
she's like,
did
what the
think that, and I think she wouldn't have to work, and so she really expected that she was going to be living like indulged sort of royalty. And I think Andrew was a little shocked and lost in this regard too because, he had grown up and lived as a child of the Queen in Buckingham Palace. Then he went off to the Navy, and that's a very sort of institutionalized place to be. And then he'd, come home and be home at mummy's place. But then he grew up and got married, and it was like, you have to go to your own house now. We're not paying for everything anymore. Here's $250,000, but that has to cover all the staff you pay, all the food, all the like upkeep of this big house, like all of it. And so he sort of was like, what? I don't want to change the way I live. And like he and Fergie sort of wanted a particular kind of royal life because they are both also the ones who indulge more in the ridiculousness of royalty more than anyone else. Like, for example, every night for dinner, they demand a full spread of several different roasts, like entire
Ooh,
roasts.
yummy.
Go to the Ari, mate.
Because like things like that, and they, they want to like entertain all the time, often at the last minute, but that means staff have to stay on and get paid. Like things that Charles, with his like, you are the heir to the throne royal programming. He was taught like differently. And also Charles's life is very different because as the heir to the throne, you get, and then like the person on the throne, you get like $60 million a year or something.
He's like
crazy.
humidor budget is more than.
Would he go to his mummy and get more money?
She does essentially
May I have more pocket
help,
money?
Yeah.
but
Mummy.
like Fergie just doesn't seem to, I mean, maybe not understand, but also just literally does not care or think about money. So she, home by herself, like, because he's off all the time in the Navy, she's just like entertaining all the time. She would always want like several different options of like 50-year-old expensive champagne, like open and on ice, just in case we want to drink it, like that kind of thing. She stops working at that PR job because how dare they? She decides to write like a couple of little children's books because she also gets her pilot's license to try and connect with Andrew. And so she writes a couple of children's books about like these little helicopters. But then it turns out that like she'd kind of stolen the idea and then it becomes this big embarrassment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like the palace won't let her go to America to promote them. And it's like, so she's, but like they both just assume like we are royal and stuff will get paid for. It's the first time Andrew's been out of the Queen's house and Fergie's with him and like they're just doing holidays and like clothes and flights and expenses. Like Fergie just starts going on holidays all the time because she's bored. So she'll go like with her sister, with her mum, with whoever. And like she realizes at this point that she can use her connections and status to get stuff free. So or get stuff on like account. So, you know, she'll go she'll go to a store and be like, you know, she'll just pick out everything she wants at Harrods and then it's like, you know, charge me later, like be in touch with my office to pay that bill and she just never pays.
Yeah.
Or like she just expects, well, the palace will pay it, like whatever. So she just starts spending lots and then also, but then outside of the stuff that she's just like buying but then never paying for, so she's leaving outstanding bills all over town. She also realizes she can get free stuff. So like she kind of does invent influencing at the time. Like she
Sponsored content.
Companies say to her like, you know, an airline will be like, we'll fly you to wherever first class if you talk about the fact you flew there first class. Like, and then she gets put up in hotels and like, or like companies will be like, we want you to come stay here and do this thing. And if you mention it one time and she's like, okay. So she starts like, she also starts doing paid interviews with magazines.
Yeah.
Like she starts realizing how to get free stuff and like how people want a duchess around, and so she really takes advantage of that.
I can imagine the royal establishment wouldn't be happy with her doing sponsored stuff.
The tide turns on her very quickly. You know how
I didn't think you were allowed to do that.
You know how I was like the public loved her?
Yeah.
Very quickly.
Okay.
They do not like her anymore because first of all, she just goes, you know how they still do this to this day, like Charles has done 75 royal engagements in the last 2 months and Kate's only done 2. Like, so they are adding up her royal engagements. She barely does any. She's on holidays all the time.
Yeah.
When they loved before that she was like carefree and like didn't care about clothes and stuff. Now they're like, she's frumpy and like, and unkempt and like she needs to represent us better. And then there's this night where this is a whole Just the Gist episode in itself, but there was a show called It's a Royal Knockout, which had been produced by Edward, the youngest son, because he was trying to like figure out what he was going to do for a living to make money, and he got into TV producing. And so he did a version of It's a Knockout, the show where there's just lots of physical games, but he did It's a Royal Knockout, where for charity he got members of the royal family to be on teams to do an episode of It's a Royal Knockout. And
that would have been great TV.
Yeah. Charles and Diana refused to take part, as did the Queen and Philip.
I'm like,
Fergie and Andrew were right in there, and Fergie on camera was just like, blah, blah, like knocking people over and being really bawdy, and like the public they were like, that's uncouth.
Okay, yes.
The public did not like how Fergie was just like, you know.
Be a normal person, not that much.
Yeah, not that much. It was like they loved that she was carefree and different and a breath of fresh air, and then they were like, too much fresh air, like wind it back.
Shut the door.
But it was also mainly, I think, negative sentiment started building because there were reports about her debts that were building. So she had a lot of debts with a lot of stores, and she was also just constantly doing all this, like, essentially what we now call sponsored content, but like back then there wasn't really a word for it, but it just felt like she's using her name.
Probably sounded a bit scammy.
Yeah, like to, you know, and she would also do things like set up paid interviews with magazines. She got in a lot of trouble once. She did a like $200,000 paid interview with, I think it was Hello Magazine, but didn't tell them she was pregnant and announced her pregnancy on the day the magazine came out. And so then the magazine was like, we're not paying you. Like she just would set up dodgy stuff. And like she was just literally she was hustling from the very start. When she saw that Andrew, like they didn't have a lot of money, she was like, we'll like get it. Like we'll either get stuff, we'll either get stuff for free or we'll get money in other ways.
Crap Kris Jenner.
It is, yeah, kind of. But the thing is, it's like the reason she needs all this money is because like the way they live is so indulgent. It's out of control.
Well,
like
she probably has no idea how much things cost.
Yeah, like it's not like, you know, it's not like she's just doing it because they need the cat, like otherwise they'd have no money. And like this was, if it was like she needed to make money and, you know, what else do you expect? Yeah, it's like, no, like she would often talk about how, you know, she, you know, had nothing and barely any money and was struggling to get by, but then she had like 18 members of staff in her house. It's like you don't need, and that was double the amount of anyone else. Like they lived in this incredibly indulgent way, her and Andrew, that needed lots of money, and they weren't willing to change the way they lived because they thought they were entitled to live that way. So she starts trying to get freebies and everything any way she can. They have Beatrice and Eugenie in the late 80s, but like their marriage had apparently turned to an arrangement like long before that. By 1990, they are privately separated. And, you know, he was never there. I think, I don't know what's going on in their romance. It's been said that he is bisexual and like there was stuff to do with men with him that she was like, well, they just decided we are perfect partners, but sexually that's not for us anymore. Yeah. So let's stay partners and do our own thing.
People.
She's accruing massive debts still, and, you know, it's starting to get reported a lot on in the press. And they're saying that she's the one who cheated on him first, but like I said, they have this arrangement that, and he's such a pervo that I'd say he probably was too, but like she starts allegedly having an affair with this like rich Texas guy, and photos get published of her with this man in Texas, and one of the little girls is with them, and so it's like, how dare she, like, and so that's when people start saying that maybe they're separating, and then it like comes out that maybe she's having an affair with her financial advisor. There's all these rumors, and so the public has turned on her just like so hard.
Did Charles and Diana split before or after them?
So here's the thing. Charles and Diana were also in like a bad place already. And it is speculated, I don't know if it's true, but it is speculated that Diana and Fergie were talking about the fact both their marriages were over and they weren't sure like how is divorce going to work for us? How's this going to go? Will the public turn on us? Blah, blah, blah. Diana was having problems well before Fergie was. Diana convinced Fergie to like go ahead with the separation, and also was apparently the one who like leaked information about where she was when she was having her affairs because she wanted to like use Fergie as like the canary in the coal mine to see.
Yes, what would happen.
That is speculated, but I don't, you know, that's what Fergie thinks probably happened. Yeah. But yeah, no, their divorce and separation announcement happened first.
Yes, that's actually what I was assuming. I was assuming they were a bit of a test case.
Yeah. So, so their official separation is announced in 1992, but Andrew and Fergie like still get on. They have this arrangement. Like they would have preferred that separation not to have been announced, but those photos were published in the paper. And then disaster in August 1992, even worse photos are published in the paper. Fergie is topless, lounging by a pool with her financial advisor sucking on her toes.
I remember. Oh,
yeah. And the two little girls are playing swimming in the background. It's not excellent. And just
I mean, my financial advisor sucks on my toes, but
but that's normal.
But they said that's
That's
sound
part of-
financial advice.
Exactly.
Yeah.
and in a mortifying turn of events for her, she's at Balmoral with the royal family the morning the pictures come out on the cover of the paper. I know. So it's like everybody considers it like the troubles in their marriage like her fault because of these affairs she had. But she has said later, and I think it is true, that they had an arrangement by that point. Like she wasn't – Andrew didn't consider what she was doing affairs. He was probably off with, you know, being freaky and gross with lots of people. Like they would have preferred all of this they would have preferred to just stay married and have the arrangement the way they had it. But these photos came out probably because of Diana. Who knows? So it gets to a point where they just have to divorce. By 1995, her debts are so bad. The press finds her behavior so indulgent. She's just on holidays all the time. She's like she's doing all these icky cash grabs. Members of her staff go to the press and say, like, I had to quit working for her because I just, like, she was either awful to you or I found it awful that she used the royal name in this way to make money. And there was also stuff coming out that, like, you know, she would promise certain things were going to go to charities that she would raise money for, but then
Oh, she Belle Gibsoned them.
yeah, like money did not go to charities unless she was like specifically sort of called out for it. And, you know, she was
Yucky.
she became obsessed with raising money for herself in whatever way possible very quickly. And it was, you know, coming out in the press and people didn't like it. So they have to divorce in 1995. It's very specifically pointed out in the statement that the Queen will not be paying her debts because the public were like, because at this point she's millions of dollars in debt and it's quite like she's getting taken, she's getting brought to like there's court cases against her for debts. Like electricity at her house is going to get like switched off and like lots of staff members who she's not paying and stuff. Like she just expects it'll get like the royal family will have to step in and pay it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's what she thinks. She
They
doesn't
can
care.
afford it.
She, in the divorce, gets to retain her HRH and Duchess titles. So she is going to continue to be called Sarah, the Duchess of York. Now, the way she tells it, the reason from that point on after the divorce, she becomes so desperate for money and does things like, you know, the Weight Watchers deals. And she goes to America where they kind of love that she's a duchess and don't mind so much that she does all this commercial. Like she's on QVC selling the most random products. Like she is anything for money she'll do. And she says that the reason she had to do that, she kind of frames this narrative of like, I got hardly anything in the divorce. You know what I got in the divorce settlement? It wasn't like with, you know, Diana got $20 million. I got half of Andrew's Navy salary, which at that point was $30,000. So all I got in the divorce was £15,000 a year. And I'm a single mother. I'm working, you know, I have to, like, you may think it's gauche, these things I'm doing, but I'm supporting my family. And she was also like, I understand I have these debts and I could just go bankrupt, but I want to do the right thing. I want to pay them back. Like she really
I'm a little
did.
British battler.
And people kind of, the public turned again and started to like her because they were like, yeah, man, like she's doing what she has to do. Like, come on.
Do you know if did the kids get money from the royal pot?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, they're taken care of.
Yeah.
I mean, as kids, they don't need money, but they are taken care of. But also, she's full of shit. So it's since been revealed that in the divorce, no, she didn't get as much as Diana got. She got a lump sum of $350,000 or pounds, cash. She got £500,000 to buy a house because obviously she couldn't live, in the royal lodging anymore. The Queen paid off her debts.
Whoa.
So they got paid, which at that point were like up around $5 million.
Oh my gosh.
Which is probably why she didn't get more in the settlement, to be honest, because it went to that. And she was also given £500,000 a year as an ongoing allowance.
Mate.
So the fact that the reason she never had any money is because she insisted on living the way she thought she deserved. Like she continued to have a massive household staff of around 20 people. She would go on all these holidays. She would entertain. She just kept living. She didn't. It is true that she didn't have any money, but that's because she was living like a crazy indulgent princess. She had lots of money coming in and she would spend it. So Andrew was largely living the same way. Like since they separated pretty early into their marriage and had their arrangement, he'd pretty much been like a party boy, and then his Navy career ends, and to give him something to do, he is made by the Queen, and Charles apparently at the time said this is a really stupid mistake. He is made special representative for Britain's trade and investment. So basically he just gets to fly around the world and talk to fancy people and rich people to convince them to trade with Britain or invest in British companies. So he's getting paid to be a schmoozer, and there's no salary because he's so generous. He's just serving his country. But obviously all the travel and expenses that he needs to do the role are covered, which end up often being around £800,000 a year. This is when he gets the nickname Air Miles Andy.
And he gets to decide where these...
He decides.
Like
he
is
is basically getting paid to holiday all the time with rich people all over the world. And he realizes pretty quickly, you know what's better than being a representative for Britain when meeting billionaires? Being a representative for yourself. So Andrew...
Invest in me.
Yeah, he does. He pretty much starts using the role as a way to get people to invest in him on the sly. And he actually, on the sly is the wrong term, because he actually doesn't even try to hide the fact at a lot of these like trade summits or whatever that he is thinking about himself or not really thinking about Britain. There was one army dude who says, it's quoted in the book by Andrew Lowney, he's like, Andrew was in like Bahrain, I think, and he was there to convince their government to buy like 50 British like special planes or something. And this was going to be like a hugely important cash injection into like Britain's economy. And while he was there, he was in the room and he sort of started laughing and he went, I don't know why you'd want to buy these. They're much cheaper to rent if you get them from, and then he mentioned some other country where he had like a vested interest. And this British guy was like, what are you doing? Like, even if he was getting nothing out of that specifically, he was like actively going, this deal's shit. Like, it was like, you're there to put this deal together for Britain. And then like he spent the next few days in Bahrain in a hotel that's obviously paid for by like their royal family or whatever. And apparently 40 women visited his room over 3 days.
Ew.
All paid.
Whoa.
So he starts meeting, he's not doing any real trade stuff for Britain. It's all for him. And because it's dodgy, he just starts meeting dodgier and dodgier people, and then they connect you to dodgier and dodgier people. And it's all in this quest to sort of set up deals for himself. Like, I won't go into all of it because this is just the gist, but things like he had this house in Britain that he wanted to sell, and it was on the market for $11 million and it wouldn't even sell for $11 million. And then all of a sudden some like Middle Eastern person that he like in some government that he had some trade meeting with for Britain goes and buys the house outright for $15 million. Like, it's like stuff like that.
Be a little more subtle, dude.
It's come out since that he is connected, with a bunch of Chinese spies and human rights violated. Like, just the lowest of the low if he can get some cash out of it, basically. And this is also the time when he connects with Jeffrey Epstein because, he's gross and Jeffrey is a billionaire, and so that is probably someone that Andrew would have been, connected with. They say it's through Ghislaine Maxwell, who's an English friend a partner of Jeffrey's, but he finds this billionaire and they realize we're both skeezers who like skeezy, pervy sex things, and so they get along very quickly. And Fergie's benefiting from all this as well. Like they were a team.
Yeah.
They still are a team and they were a team then. They even moved in together in 2008 to the Royal Lodge. So that's a 30-room mansion where he signed a 75-year lease. And he didn't, it's, since come out that he's barely paid rent. The agreement was, though, he had to maintain the household and the staff, which he was able to do with the money he was getting like from his mum every year and stuff. So that was sort of the arrangement. And he and Fergie moved in together in 2008 and kind of talked about how they were a very happily divorced couple, like they're a team. And people found their arrangement quite refreshing and lovely. Like we may not have worked romantically, but we have daughters and we care about each other. Yeah, we're like, we care about each other. We're a team. And they just basically, as a team, spend their lives trying to make money for themselves by aligning with whoever will give it to them, especially because Sarah is constantly in debt. So she's constantly trying to make money. I mean, this is when in 2010 she got pulled up in that fake shake thing where some journalists who heard about her using her royal connections to make money pretended to be representing like a royal sheik and met with her in a hotel room and got her on camera saying, yes, if you give me £500,000, you'll get full access to Andrew. Whenever you need to talk to him, phone calls, meetings, whatever you need. Yep. They gave her $40,000 cash as a deposit and she's on camera just being like, yep, they were journalists.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was a huge controversy. It wasn't long after that she was like, I'm in debt and I'm trying to do the right thing and I only got $15,000 a year in my divorce and it was a misjudgment, but I gave the money back. And she went on Oprah and then did a reality show for Oprah about like,
she did a reality show for Oprah?
It was a limited series called Becoming Sarah and it was basically like reputation rehab after this shake thing. And so it's coming out now also, like, I mean, today now, 2025, that enduring friendship that both Sarah and Andrew had with Jeffrey Epstein actually had most to do with Sarah. So Jeffrey paid off a lot of her debts and just gave her money all the time. Since like the Epstein files are slowly, bits and pieces of them are getting leaked the last few months, there are emails, like they've got all his emails that he'd done for years. There are emails from her to him like, hey, Jeff, don't suppose you could chuck me a little 50 or 100. I've just got quite a few bills coming my way at the moment. Like that means 50,000 to 100,000. And like even emails that he sends to other people, like where he's getting annoyed at her, like, God, like the tap never turns off for this woman. Like he essentially pays all her, not only a lot of her debts, but also like funds her lifestyle.
Really?
Okay,
because
what was she doing?
Why? Exactly.
Because his what he was getting was, connection with the Duke and Duchess, and she would get money. And I think essentially Andrew got all the perverted sex stuff from Jeffrey Epstein and Fergie got the money she needed. She is listed in Jeffrey Epstein's phone log way more than Andrew. She is listed as being on his private plane way more than Andrew. There's like emails released where she jokes like she's begging to come to his private island, like, she wants to come be one of the boys, but he only lets sexy girls go to the island.
And if Fergie knows all the secrets as well, he's got to keep her paid off.
I think that's part of it. Yeah, like I think it's just, and like I said at the start of this episode, we won't go into super detail about Jeffrey Epstein because that's not what this episode is about, but he is a billionaire who used his money to have a never-ending stream of underage girls in his orbit with his partner, Ghislaine Maxwell. They would offer up those girls to other important men, including 17-year-old Virginia Giuffre, who, had her, I don't even know what to call it. She was trafficked. I'll say trafficked. She was trafficked to Andrew in 2001. I think there's no way Fergie and Andrew couldn't have known, or Fergie didn't know. I think it was an arrangement that worked for them.
They're not getting unlimited money for nothing.
So Jeffrey Epstein's arrested in 2008 and he, for underage, like he'd been investigated for underage sex offences, and they'd been friends with him for years, so they would have known these investigations were going on.
And they have 2 daughters.
I mean,
come on.
He was being investigated for abusing underage girls when he was invited to stay at Windsor Castle to attend Beatrice's 18th birthday party.
Oh.
And so in that, after he's arrested in 2008, he gets a sweetheart deal, Jeffrey Epstein. He basically just admits, because he's so rich at the time, he admits to soliciting an underage prostitute, which basically the charge is he paid for sex with a prostitute that he didn't realize until afterwards was an underage person. That is not what they were investigating him for, so much more. It was just he's a billionaire, and that's how he tied things up. And he got sentenced to prison for 18 months, but his prison sentence was he got dropped off at the prison late at night, slept there, he got picked up in the morning and was allowed to just go home into his office and to do whatever he needed all day.
That'll show him.
He did that for 18 months. And so he gets out of prison in 2011 after 18 months. And in emails that have since come out from Jeffrey in the Epstein files, the first person to visit him at his home in Florida when he's released from prison for underage solicitation of a minor is Fergie, and she brought Beatrice and Eugenie with her.
Whoa.
She is.
It's
crazy.
Some people speculate that Fergie was in love with him. He wouldn't have been interested in her because she wasn't underage. But, to say that like you didn't know, but you went to visit him, you made sure you were the first person to visit him when he got out of prison is, they knew. And so, it's that infamous picture of Andrew and Jeffrey, the one where they're walking in the park. That was taken in 2011. And he had that incident with Virginia Giuffre in 2001. So they were friends for a long time. And I allegedly, I personally think they would have absolutely 100% known
100%,
about his whole deal.
Yeah.
Fergie just didn't care. Andrew said that picture was taken of them in 2011 because he'd just been released from prison and he had to go to his house to break up the friendship with him. But he never mentioned, Fergie had just visited him in Florida. And, it's also since come out that he didn't actually end that friendship with him in 2011. He did that famous Newsnight interview, which was a disaster, where he said, that picture was taken because I went there to break off the friendship. But emails that have come out in the last few weeks have indicated that when Virginia Giuffre released the photo of Andrew and herself and Ghislaine a few months later, Andrew was emailing Jeffrey saying, oh, God, we'll get through this together. And then he even signed off one email, I'm sorry this is happening. We'll play together soon.
Ew.
So that does not sound like, that's a gross thing to say, but it's also that does not sound like someone who was intending to never see that person again.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
And so I just think it's greediness for both money and Andrew's sexual perversion that brings Andrew and Fergie down pretty much through their connection to Jeffrey Epstein. So when Virginia Giuffre releases that photo in 2011, Andrew denies it, says it's doctored. Come on. She'd had it just in her, she'd kept it for years because the night she met him, she'd wanted a photo with a prince. And kept it for years. She'd been involved in the FBI case against him back in 2008, 2009 when he was arrested the first time. She was only known as Jane Doe at that time. She had shown them the photo, so it existed, but she had not wanted to be public. And it was in 2011 when Andrew was photographed with him in the park and he insisted no, we were barely friends. She got angry and decided to go public. And so she released the photo herself to the press. So from the time Andrew was photographed with Epstein in 2011 and then Virginia releases that photo of them in 2011 until 2019, Andrew is pressured by the public, press in England especially, to disclose what's your relationship with this man? Why were you in the park with him after he'd been convicted of like sex offenses? And he'd like never talked about it. Then Epstein takes his own life in prison in 2019. And so the story blows up again. Like essentially people had kind of forgotten about it. And so then he does the Newsnight interview thinking he'll be able to turn the whole thing around because he's mummy's special boy.
He's
and
very
also
smart. He's very clever.
He's Fergie's special boy, and his daughters both say he's our special daddy and he's very smart and he'll be able to do this. And he has no idea that he's unlikable and terrible and awful. And the Newsnight interview is going to be a mini because it's its whole own awesome story.
Excellent.
But that interview is disastrous. He shows no remorse, no empathy for victims. Says he doesn't regret his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein because it got him great connections. When asked things like, why did you stay at the house of a convicted sex offender, he says it was a convenient place to stay and just looks befuddled by why that's even in question. Like, it's just the worst interview. But at this point, you know, after that interview, it's a disaster for him. He's basically he's told that he gets stripped of royal duties, so he's no longer allowed to be a working royal. But he keeps all his titles. He and Fergie still live at the 30-room royal mansion, Royal Lodge. He's still being looked after by the Queen with his yearly allowance. He does at one point settle privately with Virginia Giuffre because she's threatening to sue him, and rather than have that mess affecting the royal family, particularly when, you know, Prince Philip was, I think, dying around this time and the Queen was getting really old, they decided to just settle it. She apparently, Virginia, got around £16 million, which that number has never been confirmed, but whatever number it was paid for by the Queen. And it was stipulated in the statement with the settlement that like he was not admitting to any wrongdoing. He just wanted this to for everyone involved, it was easier if he settled it. It's like, okay, whatever. Then Queen Elizabeth dies in 2022. And so that money, that yearly allowance he'd been getting from her, which apparently at this point was like in the high hundreds of thousands of pounds, that stops. And now that he sort of, you know, had been stripped of his special trade job back when like the picture of him and Virginia came out, it's harder for him to do all these deals to make money on the side now. So he's pretty much living off the money that the Queen was giving him every year. When that stops, he's a bit effed because part of his rental contract on the Royal Lodge was you don't really pay any rent, but you have to pay for the upkeep of this massive household, which is expensive, and he cannot afford to do that without the money he was getting from the Queen. And King Charles is like, lol, I'm not giving you shit. And, you know, he's no longer protected as mummy's special boy. And she apparently till the very end was on his side. Like what really was like right down, proven by the fact that like even after his Newsnight interview, after so much stuff happened, he was always like the one who drove, after Prince Philip died, he was always the one who was like her side person at events. And like everyone knew he's being a weasel and insisting on doing that because it looks good for him, but also she's doing it for him because she loves him and like she'll never not see him as her special boy. And so he was, you know, always front and center, like the one who escorted her to Christmas at Sandringham or whatever. I don't know the word. The la-di-da, put her to my Devonshire
upon
pie, something. And so once she dies, he's kind of effed because word was Charles and William were just like, get rid of this guy. He sucks.
It's surprising that she didn't find a way to
protect him.
Yeah, like
I think she thought the Royal Lodge rental agreement did protect him, and I think he thought it would too. And that's why I decided to record this episode today, because since the email came out in which he said to Jeffrey Epstein, "I'm so sorry this photo of me and Virginia's come out and you're getting shit for it. I'm sorry, this is so inconvenient for you. We'll play again soon." That was after he at least insisted in the Newsnight interview that he had cut off all contact with him. I mean, I don't think anyone believed that anyway, but this was unequivocal proof. So when that email came out, it was like, okay, well now they have a way to get him out of Royal Lodge or whatever. And all they did was announce that like he's no longer going to use his Duke title, which is like he didn't lose his dukedom. He just wasn't going to call himself Duke anymore. And then an email came out from Sarah Ferguson, which was awful, where she had in 2011 made a very like emphatic public statement about Jeffrey Epstein when questioned on it, like, I abhor pedophilia. And it's like, well, yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah, well done you.
What a statement.
And she was like, I'm mortified that, I had no idea. This is someone we barely even know. I'm mortified. I would never.
He distanced himself for it.
And we'll never see him again. Like he did once lend me a few £1,000s, but blah, blah, blah. Like totally distances herself, says that she thinks he's disgusting. She'll never have anything to do with him again. It's since come out in the last few months as all these files have been released that she emailed him like right after she did that interview and released that statement and was fawning, Jeffrey, my dear friend, I love you so much. I want to apologize. I had to say those things in the press, like, the royal family, there's a lot of pressure on me to, I never said you were a pedophile. Like I just want you to know how dear you are to me. You're in my heart, blah, 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 because she didn't want the tap to turn off. And so she sent him a fawning email after she said, I will never speak to that man again. So then they were like, well, we're removing the dukedom, which meant her duchessness got removed as well. But they were still a few weeks ago like, oh, they can't call themselves Duke and Duchess anymore, but they live in a 30-room mansion. And word was they were refusing to leave. Charles wanted them out, but Andrew was like, I have this rock-solid 75-year lease, and he had spent quite a few $1 million on renovating it back in the day. So he's like, you can't kick me out of here. And apparently in the press, it's been alluded that negotiations have been going on for a few weeks to get them both to leave. But they were like, we can live together. We're not a couple. Like, so we can live together in a place, but we can only live together here because it's a 30-room mansion. You can't expect us to move somewhere small because we're not like, we're partners, but we're not a couple. And so they were trying to negotiate if they left the Royal Lodge that he wanted Frogmore Cottage and she wanted Adelaide Cottage, which are the houses that William and Catherine and Harry and Meghan lived. They wanted a house each. And it's like, what does Fergie get anything for? She's not even, she's divorced. She's part of it. Like, it's so odd. There's word that Charles thinks it's safer to keep her close because she'll do a tell-all or something. Because she would know a lot about Andrew. But Andrew and Fergie seem to have had this thing where they protect each other.
Yeah.
Like, no matter what, they protect each other. And so, that's just because my embarrassing like interest in the royal family means I've been reading all those gossip columns about like, oh, they're demanding 2 houses and blah, but no one really knew, like no one knew what was happening. But then it like came out in the last week or so that Andrew had, at the time of the Virginia Giuffre photo coming out in 2011, asked his protection officer, who is a member of the police force, like special, what's the English version of the CIA? MI6 or whatever, had got Virginia's social security number and some other information about her and asked him to like use your resources to dig up dirt on her.
Wow.
And so then it became a matter of you illegally use taxpayer money and this service. You tried to use a government
well, why wouldn't he?
Police
he's
service
a special little boy
to dig up dirt
he would.
on a woman that you abused when she was 17.
Harm your victim.
So that kind of was a thing that was just like a step too. Like people are talking about him being prosecuted for that because it's just, and so I think the whole thing just got so messy. Charles was at an event last week that was meant to be like he went to the Vatican. He was the first English king to pray with the Pope since what's his name, cut off all the women's heads and cut with Henry VIII cut with the Catholic Church so he could stoop Anne Boleyn. So Charles is meant to be having a really like positive time, and everywhere he goes at the moment, people are yelling things out to him like, what did you know? Your brother's a pedo. Like, it's really bad. And so I think they were definitely going to do something big, because everyone was like, oh, what, he just can't call himself a duke and he lives in a 30-room castle.
Boo-hoo.
I think it's just that they've been negotiating the terms of what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. I think legally they wanted to remove all his titles. They were also really worried about Beatrice and Eugenie, and like if he's no longer a prince, as the daughters of him, are they princesses? Like, I think there was just a lot. This is a lot.
It's unprecedented.
This is unprecedented in the royal family. And to even remove his titles officially, it has to, it's like, it goes through parliament. No, it's actually legislation has to pass.
Have people been kicked out of the royal family before? Like
not in this, like not in this way really in modern times.
Wow.
Like, you know, Edward abdicated, the guy who married Wallis Simpson.
Yeah,
that was his choice. Like, this is like why I think the saying, oh, he's not going to call himself a duke anymore, they thought that would be enough, but everyone was like, no, like, they're so out of touch, this family, that they're like, you don't understand, that's really embarrassing for us. He can't call himself a duke anymore, that's really bad. And everyone else is like, that's fucking nothing. Like, and so then all of this has been brewing, and then it is announced today, 31st of October, this morning, it was announced that they're officially removing everything from him. I'll read you the statement that the palace put out this morning. It said, His Majesty has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles and honours of Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew will now be known as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. So he's no longer a prince. And this isn't like he can't use the titles. They're removed. They've started the process to actually remove them.
It's just like us.
Yeah, but
just
worse.
Andrew.
But worse. But worse. His lease on the Royal Lodge has to date provided him with legal protection to continue in residence. And that's very pointed. That's saying I would have got him out earlier, but we've been trying to figure out how. Formal notice has now been served to surrender the lease, and he will move to alternative private accommodation. Their Majesties wish to make clear that their thoughts and utmost sympathies have been and will always remain with the victims and survivors of any and all forms of abuse. It was also confirmed by the palace's press office that Fergie is, on her own. It's up to her to find her private accommodation. So them wrangling to try and get a house each isn't going to happen. And I don't know if they will, decide to live like plebs together in like Frogmore or Adelaide cottages are still like 6-bedroom giant homes. Yeah. And they're like, it's too small for the two of us. So I don't know what Fergie's going to do, but she's not included in this deal at all. Whatever other royal house he gets moved to will be paid for and provided by King Charles. Essentially, I think he will be looked after by King Charles for the rest of his life, but probably...
I wanted him to have to go and like get Centrelink.
There was talk of him being exiled, like getting sent to just like
the colonies.
Some outpost in, maybe Sydney or
some
or like, somewhere isolated in Scotland or somewhere random. But I think they're going to keep him. I mean, apparently Charles, it's his brother. He has a soft spot for him. He was the special little boy. Word is that when William takes over, he's going to just be like,
you're done.
You're done.
Out, bro.
Fuck right off. But yeah, that's where Andrew has landed. And that is that's just the gist of Andrew and Fergie and how they ended up being so awful and in the position that they are. Two people who are pretty greedy and selfish and self-serving and entitled, and how they got there.
It's interesting how they have been just terrible for decades and decades and decades.
Took a long time.
This Epstein thing is the thing that has brought them down. Like if this Epstein thing hadn't happened or hadn't, they would still be out doing the same thing to this day.
Yeah, and I think it's I like to frame it as it's not Epstein that brought them down, it's Virginia, because they could have continued that association, that working relationship in whatever sense it was working for Fergie and Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein forever, had someone not been brave enough to say something, and that person was Virginia Giuffre, who, you know, very sadly earlier this year took her own life after just being hounded by the press, by the royal family, gaslit. I mean, a huge part, I think, of the timing of this statement from the palace and them deciding to do this is that her memoir was posthumously released on October 21. It's called Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice. I haven't read it. I don't think I can read it. Like that would be an intense read, but there has a lot of information released in it, which obviously can't be confirmed, but just a lot more detail about, I don't want to call it a relationship, her interactions with Andrew. A lot more detail about her interactions with other people. I think once her book came out, it was the final nail in the coffin for Andrew.
Yeah.
You know, all these emails and secret communications from the Epstein files had come out, all this other stuff had come out, but her book coming out, particularly after she had like so tragically taken her own life just months earlier, that was the final nail in the coffin. And her family this morning released a statement after Buckingham Palace confirmed that he was just getting stripped of everything. They said, today an ordinary American girl from an ordinary American family brought down a British prince with her truth and extraordinary courage. And like, that is, she brought him down, you know, like she did. Yeah. And it's, and that's why I've been so sort of fascinated after reading the book entitled by Andrew Lowney. And then I've been fascinated with Andrew and Fergie just as a concept, but also I've been struggling, and James will tell you, like, I have changed my mind 20 times about how to do this episode. Like, should it be about Andrew? Should it be about Epstein? I don't know. But then I was like, no, you know what? I think most people need is like, they see all these headlines at the moment about Andrew. They know what happened with Virginia Giuffre. They sort of know the link to the Epstein thing, but it's like, but what's just the gist of how they got there? Like, what is the history of Andrew and Fergie?
Yeah.
Like, who were they? Were they always awful? What's their deal? Like, I was like, you know what? We'll do just the gist of two people who got increasingly more awful and self-serving, and the Epstein and Virginia Giuffre part of it is only one awful thing they did along the way with a lot of other really awful stuff.
Yeah.
Just the gist of how they got so awful.
It's amazing. And just like how, I mean, particularly Andrew was raised to be this entitled brat.
Yeah.
And like he made choices along the way, don't get me wrong. Like he chose to do terrible things, but he also was kind of like fostered to like be a terrible person. So he was kind of set up to continue on this pathway of just like atrociousness.
Yeah.
And she had all this stuff kind of baggage too, and combined together, they were just inevitably going to continue with their lives of being crappy people.
Incendiary crap.
Perfect storm of incendiary crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was thinking that about her too. Like, was she awful before she got to him? Is it her fault that he's the one who told her, oh yeah, call a maid from 3 floors down to just move that thing for you right there? Like, I don't know. But
I think you make choices.
But you also have to already be the type of person who like, because Diana has said that one day she was with Charles in a room and there was a top that his dresser brought him that he didn't like or was wrong or something, and he said, well, you have to go get me another shirt, and his wardrobe was literally a step away from him, and Diana was like, why don't you get it? It's right there. And like Charles got really mad at her and was like, you don't understand, blah, blah, blah. It's like she was the type of person who saw that behavior and was like, what the F?
No.
Whereas Fergie saw that behavior and was like, ha, pick up my fork. Like she just jumped right on it. So it takes a certain person to, when faced with that stuff, to go, yeah, I'm on board. Let's go.
What are their kids like?
Okay, yeah, it's apparently just as bad.
Oh, okay.
Apparently quite entitled and awful. Apparently Beatrice and Eugenie for the longest time did not believe any of the Virginia stuff. I don't know if they even still don't, or if they do now. But most of what I've read indicates that, yeah, they're also both pretty awful, and they also both were trained by their parents to foster connections to make money. Like they have, deals and gifts from Middle Eastern sheiks and other things, and I don't know. That's a whole other Just the Gist.
Yeah.
But from what I've read, and from what is indicated in the entitled book, like. Yeah, they also
suck.
Well, again, like, would you expect anything else from people who
It'd
were
be
raised?
a miracle if they were decent humans.
But it also is that question of you're a working royal, like you're a royal, but you're working, but like you have a particular lifestyle that you need to fund, but also do you need to fund that? Like what lifestyle have they been raised to think they deserve or expect? Like, all the other working royals seem to live within their means.
And you're also there to like work for the people as well. Like it's about public service. It's about kind of having this position for the good of the country. And it seems like
it's never been that.
It's never been that, yeah.
Anyway.
But they've probably married billionaires of their own or something now?
Yeah, no, they've both married well. I wouldn't say like crazy rich people. And they both work. So when I say working royals, I mean like ones who do official stuff for the royal family but have to have their own jobs. But then you're in a tricky position because you can only have jobs that don't seem like too commercial or that aren't cashing in on your name. I think Beatrice works in like some PR firm and another one of them works in like an art gallery or something.
Yeah.
And it's like you are expected to live as a royal, but you have to pay for it all with a job that can't be a particular kind of job, but also, it's like, it's tricky. So
annoying.
They, apparently do have like these arrangements overseas and deals and gifts and all kind. I mean, none of my business.
Ugly hat designers.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Milliners.
but I don't. That's a whole other Just the Gist, those two. But that was Just the Gist of. And now just plain old, formerly known as Prince Andrew.
Just Andrew.
Just Andrew and Fergie.
The douche formerly known as Prince.
Not just regular people, worse than regular people. All right, that was that.
Amazing.
That was
Thank
so
you so
good.
much. So we're
Thanks,
going to
guys.
get a mini specifically on...
We're getting a mini on the Newsnight interview because that's its whole own... its whole own to do.
Brilliant.
It's whole own to do.
I'm excited.
And I also now really want to do one on It's a Royal Knockout because that's also
sounds very worthwhile.
A whole embarrassing chapter in this story.
Wonderful.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Just the Gist, a Just the Network production. Executive produced and hosted by me, Rosie Waterland. Produced and edited by James Joseph with additional production support from JTG team Kate Lever and Hayley Stavely and Acast legends Guy Scott Wilson and Simon McDermott. Looking for breaking news? It drops on the Just the Gist Patreon every Tuesday, along with a whole lot of other bonus audio, video, and behind-the-scenes content, which you can access for just $1, $1 a week by clicking the link in the show notes or searching Just the Gist Podcast on Patreon. Follow Just the Gist on Instagram and TikTok at Just the Gist Podcast and watch the video version of every episode on our YouTube channel, also at, funnily enough, Just the Gist Podcast. Follow Rosie, that's me, in all of the places at Rosie Waterland. Want to give us a suggestion? Tell Rosie to stop singing so much? Email us at hello@justthegist.com.au. Thank you, as always, for listening. Now go say something impressive at a dinner party. Bye.